A little boy lost.
This is now a very massive search to find this little boy.
Gone without a trace. Last seen right in his very own school.
I think that he wouldn't do something like run away from school.
Nobody's seen anything, nobody knows anything, everybody's just guessing.
A family divided joins together to search and plead for his safe return.
We're gonna bring you home, buddy.
Then fractures again in ways almost too strange to believe.
A source tells News Channel 8 the missing boy's father has filed for divorce, and we're told he's taken out a restraining order.
It's not the person that we thought it was. It's not the person that everybody thought it was.
12 months have now passed since KYRON Horman disappeared. 12 months filled with heartbreak for his mother, his father, investigators, and an entire community.
And I know that they're still invested in bringing KYRON home.
12 months filled with questions about his stepmother, the last person known to have seen KYRON.
It's a completely different person leading a separate life.
12 months of searching for a little boy with no apparent end in sight.
From KGW's HD Studios, this is a News Channel 8 special. 1 year later, where's KYRON?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Berry. This Saturday, June 4th, will mark 1 year since little KYRON Horman disappeared. On that June day, no one could have imagined that 12 months later, the case would remain a mystery, a story without an ending. Investigators continue to work the case. In fact, they have 68 binders full of information, but yet they seem no closer to finding KYRON. We will hear from one of the chief investigators tonight, and we spent some time with KYRON's mother and father, their anguish undiminished by the passage of time. But first, the quiet little boy whose disappearance stunned our community. Pictures, flowers, stuffed animals line the Wall of Hope, an ever-changing outpouring of love and support for KYRON Horman that grew in the days and hours after the boy's disappearance. A Valentine's card and an Easter message, evidence of the time that has passed since KYRON disappeared from his school, just 300 yards from where this memorial now stands. KYRON was nearing the end of his second grade year at Skyline School. A science fair awaited the 7-year-old at school the morning of June 4th. His contribution, this display reflecting his passion for frogs. A day that held so much promise quickly turned dark.
We begin tonight with breaking news. The search for a missing second grader in the West Hills. News Channel 8's Pat Dorson.
KYRON's stepmother told police she left the boy at his classroom at about 8:45 that morning. When he didn't get off the bus that afternoon at 3:45, she called the school. His teacher had marked KYRON absent. The search began.
If you have seen KYRON or have any information you think may be beneficial, please call Portland Police.
Search teams fanned out across the school grounds. As day turned to night, still no sign of the boy, and police called in the FBI to help.
He's a 7-year-old boy and we want to have him found. So we're bringing all the resources we can to make sure that happens.
Despite their efforts, the haunting calls of searchers go unanswered through the night.
KYRON!
Hours become days, the search zone expanded, and a shaken family broke their silence, pleading for help.
Say, KYRON, we miss you, we love you, and we need you home right now.
Those pleas would also go unanswered. By the end of the next weekend, police announced a major shift. What started as a search for a missing boy has become a criminal investigation. It is no surprise that police focus on family members in a case like this. But even before the questioning began, one family member objected. KYRON's stepmother, Terry Horman.
And that's the way it's going to be for each and every one of us. I told everybody there, this is normal. This is what happens.
KYRON Horman's stepfather, Tony Young, is a Medford police officer. With his law enforcement background, he could offer the family insight about what to expect and gauge the family's reaction.
She instantly started to express some displeasure at that and and not feeling like she was persecuted. And I thought that was kind of an unusual reaction that early.
Police handed out a questionnaire wanting information about Terry Horman or the family's white truck the day KYRON disappeared. Weeks later, a bombshell. After meeting with police, KYRON's father, Kane, quickly moved out of his house, taking the daughter he had with Terry with him. His request for a restraining order shows why. Kane says police told him that months before, Terry had tried to hire someone to kill him. At a press conference, Kane drops another bombshell.
I think everyone knows the fact that she's taken her two polygraphs. She has not passed those 2 polygraphs.
The focus of the investigation now clearly pointed at KYRON's stepmother. Yet investigators did not name her a suspect. They didn't even call her a person of interest. But Kane eventually forced Terry out of their home. She hired a high-profile defense attorney and moved into her parents' home in Roseburg, where she dropped out of sight and where she remains to this day, 1 year after KYRON's disappearance. 1 year later, the loss is nearly unbearable for KYRON's mother. Each day, Desiree Young hopes for good news, and each night, the nightmares return. News Channel 8's Pat Doris joins us. And Pat, I know you recently traveled to Medford to talk with her, and that was such a painful interview.
It was, and she's as good as can be expected, but Desiree Young's caught in a special sort of hell. She's unable to help her son, even though she's certain about who is responsible. And on top of that, each morning she begins another battle against her own feelings of grief and guilt.
In southern Oregon, couples embrace the optimism of spring. On the edge of Medford, in a well-kept home, the changing season is a reminder of one constant. KYRON Horman is still missing.
I can't believe we're here. I mean,
KYRON's birth mom, Desiree Young, remembers racing north from her Medford home to Portland last June when he disappeared.
First of all, it just was something that we expected to be woken up from that first night. We expected on the drive up there we would get the call. We found him.
The call never came. The excruciating hours of waiting during the initial search stretched into days, then blurred into months, with no sign of KYRON.
It's been hard. A lot of roller coaster of emotions, and so when it comes up, you know, there's days where they're awful, they're horrible, and I just want to not go on without KYRON.
The pressure is relentless, but hope urges her on, expecting a break in the case.
Every time the phone calls, you know, every time somebody knocks on your door, you twinge, or, you know, phone calls in the middle of the night, you twinge, everything. It's a constant hope that there's an answer, but it's an anxiety at the same time.
Occasionally, time stops. It happened in May when police in Maine found the body of a boy in the woods. It was not KYRON.
It's just awful, awful that things like this happen in the world. I can't even describe the feeling of thinking that it was KYRON.
The feelings chase her into the night. There is no escape.
I have nightmares almost every night. Some are reoccurring. I don't sleep very much. Yeah.
Desiree's days are spent at her job and reminding the public her son is missing.
Yeah. We put them all up throughout Roseburg and
Often her thoughts turn to KYRON's stepmom, Terry Horman. She was the last person known to see KYRON alive at his school science fair. Desiree's convinced she's involved in his disappearance.
She definitely was somebody who communicated a lot with her friends and put things in writing that are atrocious. How she felt about KYRON. She blamed a lot of the marital problems between her and Kane on KYRON. She just had an extreme hatred for him, which we weren't aware of before. Yeah.
Do you think KYRON's still out there alive?
I really, really hope so. I really do. I know so much about Terry now. I have a hard time believing. I want to, I do, but I have a hard time believing that she didn't hurt him.
Horman has not been named a suspect or even a person of interest in the case. Still, Desiree nearly confronted her in early May when other mothers around the country enjoyed a national holiday.
Mother's Day was very difficult. I did drive through Roseburg. I had to talk myself out of not going to her house. It's extremely hard at this point, and I had it all worked up in my head what I was going to say to her and everything, and I needed to turn around because I know better. And at this point, I'm tired of waiting for her. I'm tired of her not talking. I'm tired of her not giving us the answer.
When it all becomes too much, she looks for peace in KYRON's empty room.
It's the only place I have to go and talk to him and to feel surrounded by his stuff and to go and just be part of the memories.
But day to day, the memories compete with an enduring guilt.
Yeah, the guilt is terrible. Yeah, I won't ever forgive myself for not going to the science fair. I won't. You know, I would. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at that picture of that day and just want to take him out of that picture and just take him away.
Desiree Young says she still believes police will crack the case, but what was a flood of information pouring in during the first stages has now become a drip. And that's hard too, Tracy.
Boy, the whole thing's hard, Pat. My heart just breaks for her. This must be so hard for her to do this kind of interview. I always thought of her as such a private person.
Well, she was, and she told me she was a little frustrated at the blast of publicity at first, but now she's terrified if he's not in the news. She's done so many interviews, she has a spot in her dining room that she knows works best for the lighting in the background. It's all changed now.
Well, whatever you have to do, right, when your child's missing. Well, there may be only one other person who might be able to appreciate the pain that Desiree Young feels, and that's KYRON's father, Kane Horman. Next, we revisit the Wall of Hope with Kane to see the toll this has taken on him and the day he considers the hardest yet since KYRON disappeared 1 year ago. We just heard from KYRON's mother, and now KYRON's father admits that his life has changed forever. There is no routine, no normal for Kane Horman as he searches for his son. News Channel 8's Kylie Boshi has been covering this story since the day that KYRON disappeared. And Kyle, you were able to spend some time with Kane Horman recently.
And Tracy, over the past year, I've got to know Kane Horman quite well. We've spoken more than a dozen times. And in all of our meetings, KYRON has always come first. He wants to find his son more than anything, but he admits it'll take time. Kane Horman warns this case could drag on for 2, 3, 4 years, and even then, it may not be resolved.
After his son disappeared, Kane Horman quickly realized he wasn't alone. Thousands of friends, neighbors, complete strangers shared his agony.
We will never stop looking for you, KYRON. You will be home soon, sending warm prayers and lots of love to the family.
Over the past year, hundreds of well-wishers helped fill the Wall of Hope. No one is giving up on KYRON Horman.
It's kind of a living, breathing thing, just like he is. It is going to continue to grow, and things about it are going to change.
But as others return to their normal lives, Kane Horman remains stuck in an endless nightmare.
He's with me every single day. These are all pretty cool.
Kane admits there is no routine anymore. He's a single father with a busy job at Intel. He's got bills.
It's kind of a longer one, but it
does the shopping and runs errands.
Keep a strong heart and Godspeed you home safely.
All while searching for his son, and he's surrounded by memories.
Time kind of moves on, and you have to adjust.
Kane relies on a close group of friends for support, Some days are tougher than others, but nothing's been harder than Christmas.
But just having an empty house for the first time pretty much ever, that was tough, and obviously without him being there.
Kane admits there have been distractions. He's been contacted by people hoping to profit from his loss. Others share wild speculation. And then there's the divorce. In court papers, salacious details emerged about his estranged wife, Terry Horman. Police say she was the last one to see KYRON.
I'll be honest about it, I didn't immediately jump to conclusions. I didn't assume the worst right away.
Kane says he's frustrated by Terry's lack of cooperation. He warns her story doesn't add up, and she's failed lie detector tests.
Based on the information you've been given from investigators, do you think they have enough to charge and convict Terry?
I think, well, I'll say no. I think that there's still a significant amount of work that needs to be done to make sure that Terry is the right person.
Investigators update Kane regularly.
How you doing, Eric?
To keep the search alive, Kane organized a series of public events, and there are more to come. He warns the investigation could drag on.
Right. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. This could go on for 2, 3, 4 years potentially without closure.
For Kane Horman, there is no timeline for this nightmare.
There's no day that's more or less important than the other for me. They're all equally as important until he gets home.
The wall of hope may be weathered, its colors beginning to fade, but no one is giving up on KYRON.
Over the past year, Kane has removed some of the items from the Wall of Hope. He put some stuffed animals up in KYRON's room and decorated the walls with some of the banners. He is hoping for his son's return.
Gotta be so difficult. Thank you, Kyle. Coming up next, one of the lead investigators talks about where the case stands today.
Tucked away in the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is a room dedicated to a little boy with a big smile. KYRON Horman has been missing for nearly a year. This room full of binders and maps is where detectives coordinate their investigation.
There's many people that have played a part in the effort to find KYRON. I've spent a lot of hours in here, and so has a lot of other people.
Among the countless sheriff's deputies and 6 criminal behavioralists and profilers from the FBI, there's Chief Deputy Jason Gates.
This isn't just our job. We very much care about this little boy and this family, and that's what it's all about.
You may recognize Gates. He was the face of the sheriff's office in the hours after KYRON went missing.
It's one of those cases that is very disturbing to us. It's very disturbing to our public because we have a child that went missing from a school.
That school, Skyline Elementary in Northwest Portland. The date, June 4th. Excited for a science fair at school that morning, KYRON's stepmom, Terry Horman, dropped him off. The 7-year-old hasn't been seen since.
This is an active investigation where we are doing meaningful work.
To fully appreciate that, all you have to do is take a look around the so-called war room. It's stacked high with nearly 70 binders full of investigative information, including 4,500 tips detectives have chased down.
Some of them we can triage very quickly. Other things develop more tips. So, we get a lead and we follow up on that lead. It may lead us to 4 or 5 more people that we need to interview.
Sources close to the investigation tell News Channel 8 that authorities have looked at scores of potential suspects. They've also interviewed more than 450 people.
All 450 of those people have been interviewed at least twice. And then several other folks have been interviewed several times.
Detectives have left no stone unturned, figuratively or literally.
We don't want to lose here. We want to win. We want to win for KYRON. We want to win for his family. We want to win for the public that we serve here.
KYRON's stepmother, Terry, is kept out of sight for much of the last year, even moving out of Portland. News Channel 8's Pat Doris spent 2 days in Medford and Roseburg looking for Terry.
Shortly after 7-year-old KYRON Horman disappeared, both his stepmom and birth mom appeared at a news conference asking for help.
And until you come home, this family is not complete.
Since then, sightings of Terry Horman, the stepmom, have been rare. She's hired a high-powered attorney and now lives a rather secluded life here at her parents' home in Roseburg. We wanted to talk to Terry, but signs posted on the house warned the media away. Still, she's not under arrest, not charged, not even named as a suspect. There may be suspicion, but Terry Horman is free to do whatever she wants. That infuriates KYRON's birth mom, Desiree Young, who lives in Medford.
I've been driving up the freeway through Roseburg and going to Portland, and I've seen her on the side of the little walkway, breezeway there, walking. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
Desiree refuses to say her son is dead, but her next words directed at Terry may be closer to revealing her inner thoughts.
You shouldn't get to breathe the outside air or see the sun, or, you know, KYRON doesn't get to. That makes me very angry sometimes.
Investigators can put little direct pressure on Terry Horman, but behind the scenes, detectives dig into every part of her life. It can't be much comfort to her to see a sheriff's truck parked at the home right across the street from her parents' house.
The justice system can do little to pressure Terry Horman, but Desiree Young can, and she is. It's here above Interstate 5, just outside of Roseburg. It's that billboard.
It doesn't even say his name, but the billboard carries 5 pictures of KYRON and a note from Desiree. I promise I will find you. I will never stop.
It's for KYRON, but it's for Terry. It's, I just have to remind her, we're still here, we're not gonna stop, and we're gonna find him.
Well, the billboard doesn't bother us, really.
Under the shadow of the big sign,
well, it's right over there.
Everybody's got their own opinion about it.
The Winchester Salon hums with the latest news of the day. But KYRON is never far from their thoughts.
I think it was more talked about, but everybody notices the signs around more now.
Louise Sherrick has cut hair here for 35 years. She's heard a lot of stories.
Yeah.
She's reluctant to place blame.
It's pretty hard to convict somebody until you find the body, so.
Her daughter Cindy agrees.
It's a shame that it had to happen. It's talked about.
They say it is odd having Terry suddenly living in their community.
But I mean, if I saw her in the street, I'm not going to point and say mean things to her. Because like I said, if they had enough evidence against her, they'd be putting her in jail.
Desiree, the birth mom, says, just wait.
At the end of the day, you think she's going to spend the rest of her life in prison?
Yep, without a doubt.
Because she killed him?
I'm hoping she didn't, but she kidnapped him. She did something with him.
We talked to Terry Horman's attorney earlier this week, and he declined comment. You know, I think for most of us these days, a year seems to go by in just the blink of an eye, but when your child is missing, it must feel like an eternity. We are still asking, where is KYRON? If you have any information, investigators are still taking tips. The number 503-261-2847. Thanks for watching and remembering KYRON.